Good afternoon, everybody. It is 1 o'clock p.m. or 1300 Central Standard Time on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon, the 15th of August. We've had a pretty nice change of pace and change in direction with our markets in general, not just in cryptos, but equity markets. If we look at take a peek at the NASDAQ, we can see that it has really taken a bit of a turn down here. On the Ichimoku system, we've dropped 117 points on the NASDAQ. The Dow's down 264, and the ES or the S&P's down 30 points. So we've had a bit of a change in the equity markets that is reflected and further into our currencies. We see the dollar index has a there is a ridiculous move. Parabolic moves happen on all time frames, and there's a parabolic move in the dollar index on any time frame below the daily. In fact, you might as well call the daily a type of a parabolic move. It's been a parabolic rise, and there's only one thing that I believe is for certain in the market, and that is that a parabolic move is always met by an equally violent correction. So that's what we're seeing in the dollar index. We've been finding a top. Just been discussing this for a couple weeks now. The nature of the moves, and so we're in the currency markets and the equity markets, we are seeing a big change in direction, and that is also having an effect, if you want to say it is or it isn't, in our cryptocurrency market. Now, interesting. I was reading this. I don't remember the news outlet, but while we've been in this down move, and I want to take a look at, so here's Bitcoin's chart, but I want us to take a real quick look at gold's chart. So here's gold. All right, gold has been in a really really big move down from this swing high over here. We are looking at a yearly swing high. Well, actually, was the yearly back here? Yeah. Well, we'll just take this swing high here to where we are currently. Gold has dropped 14%. I mean, it's a big dive down. We've gone from the high 1300s all the way down below 1200. This is due for a pretty responsive drive higher as well. The interesting thing about gold, though, is that Bitcoin, even though it was moving down with everything else, Bitcoin was getting more volume globally than gold was. People were not finding security and have not been finding security in gold, but they've been finding more of a hedge against uncertainty with Bitcoin, which is actually really weird. In Turkey, they have been buying up Bitcoin like crazy. Like the bunch of different aggregate crypto news sources were talking about that the exchanges dealing with the Turkish lira into Bitcoin have grown exponentially over the last couple weeks. And yeah, that's just and partly because I think this is another case study for why cryptocurrencies are important. Regular people were not able to exchange their lira and put it into dollars or euros. They were being prevented from banks. They were being prevented by their government, but they could do it with cryptos. Those they could find a source of security and stabilization there. So, and somebody might say, well, you could do that. People, Bitcoin is not stable. No, but Tether is, even and screw Tether, but True USD is. So yeah, that's been an interesting thing going on. Just the kind of the fundamental aspect of the market that we participate in. So other than that, I want to zip on over here. Let's take a look quick. There are a lot of buy signals, long signals that I have been looking at. Again, I need to open up with saying that derivatives trading, and especially cryptocurrencies, cryptocurrency spot market, cryptocurrency derivatives involve substantial risk and is not suitable for all investors. You should talk with your financial planner regarding your investment goals, and that Past performance is not indicative of future results. All right, got that out of the way. Now, Bitcoin, pretty nice rise here. Look at the daily. We've got really a flat line of price here, but we've rallied up to the 6,500 value area, 6,600 rather. And so we are above the price of the past 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. All right, we could pass the 6th day. So we've actually had a pretty nice bounce here. We've been talking about this zone being in a buy zone for the past week and a half or so. And that this red vertical line here, if you remember, I think it was on Monday I was discussing this, that this red vertical line represents a pivot in time, and that it acts as a source of resistance in time to the trend in force. And so this really just kind of reinforces the theory behind trading a time cycle versus price action only. And this is a part of how I like to trade. So, and I shared some of the buys I picked up over on Monday with Walton Coin and Cardano. I bought a nice chunk of those. If I can find those images, right there. Think. And where did I do with it? Oh well. Shoot. I'm not going to spend so much time looking at this. I think I had it. Yes. I was going to do the snippet because it's easier, because I don't want to share all my account info. Okay, so I have Cardano, picked up a chunk of it on Monday. The same with Walton Chain. I picked up a chunk of it. And those are ones that have been really, really, really down even before we had the initial kind of impulse wave here, motive wave rather. Okay, so will we see a long-term pull here? I have no idea. Nobody really does. There is a big argument for this just flagging and facing resistance around the 7,000 area and then having another leg down. We'll have to see, though. The volume on the daily right now, it's not, it needs to grow. I mean, this is on Coinbase's volume, but let's look at, so this is Kraken's volume. The volume yesterday, I mean, these are very different daily candlesticks. Here's Kraken's daily candlestick that says we went all the way up near 6 to 800. And then here's Coinbase's, which says we never went above 6,200. It's a little different. But this is a pretty nice looking hammer. The volume yesterday, it's wonderful to see this kind of a candlestick formation near the bottom of a trend trade, and we have this type of formation with this kind of volume. Ideally, we would like to see the following day's volume be near yesterday's or higher, but it's not, so that's all right though. Let's go ahead and look at the Ichimoku system and look at some of these entry zones that we are sitting at. So a lot of these we've on Forex Lens, we've been doing a lot of sessions based on trading the Ichimoku system and waiting for those kind of signals, but and using what's called MTF for multiple time frames. Multi-time frame analysis is another name for it. So in the Ichimoku system, you have a couple time horizon or a few time horizons you should look at. So if you want to trade the hourly chart, like I do, I look at the daily chart, the 4-hour chart, and the 1-hour charts, and entries are made on the 1 hour. So the general rule is when, if I want to take a long trade, then price needs to be above the cloud on the 4-hour and the daily chart. And if I want to be short trading, I want to make sure that that price is below the cloud on the daily and the 4-hour. Now, the problem with that is you'll be sitting there for quite a while. You could be sitting for months, actually. Really, in a trending market, you could be sitting there for months without being able to take a trade. But we know that when trends change, trends change always on shorter time frames first. Okay, so it's like a domino effect. So there are buy signals, long signals for me, in the Ichimoku system in our crypto markets. So let's look at this. So Bitcoin has a buy signal based on the hourly. And what is that signal? Again, price needs to be above the cloud, which it is. Is the cloud ahead green? It is. Is the lagging span also above the cloud? It is. So the actual buy signal was when price closed above the cloud, and so did the lagging span. So it was back here around the 6,400 value area. Did it retrace a little bit? Sure. But the signal was still there for the buy entry. Actually, no, that retraced before. Yeah. Okay. So that is that trade there. There's been a couple others that also have had this. So if we look at, well, let's see the ones that don't. So Ethereum does not yet have a signal to go long on the hourly on the Ichimoku. We have to wait for it to get above the cloud. There is an argument here where just using some common sense and the overall market data, if Bitcoin is issuing a signal that to go long, then everything is pretty much issuing a signal to go long, because we're not back into a full rotating crypto market where we have money flowing into Bitcoin, where Bitcoin's catching a bid or the majors are catching a bid and the altcoins are selling off. And then we have days where alts are doing great and Bitcoin and Ethereum are just sitting mostly flat or down. We're not getting a big rotation of that capital yet, so really we're just faced with an ETF. That's essentially what we're dealing with. So Ethereum has not yet met a buy signal. In fact, there is a argument to be made for further down prices. We have on the hourly at least. This is probably one of the easiest Elliott wave charts ever. I'm laughing because they never look like this. So we have a five wave down. Again, they never look like this. So there's that, and then followed by our corrective wave up, a 3-wave up. So that's what we're at right now. Where'd we go? There we are. And we've got here. Okay, somebody's saying, am I streaming live right now? It says, yep. All right. So that, this, if this is a corrective wave, then we should, this is freaking, I gotta actually take a picture of this because this is kind of a ridiculous, I could pull out the Chartered Market Technicians material or, like, I don't know, there's some other books that there are, trying to think of the guy who did an Elliott Wave one for Bloomberg Press. This would be in their book. So there is an argument that this could just be another leg down. But from what Elliott Wave leg are we looking at? So if you look at the daily, is this is this a 1, 2, 3? No, it can't be that. So it could be a 1, 2, and then we could be on a 3 wave, and then we just start our next leg up. I mean, this is all Elliott wave is a art and a science, like technical analysis in general. Anyways, on the Ichimoku system, we do not, as of yet, have a buy signal or a long trade signal from Ethereum because we are not above the cloud here. So in order for that to happen, either we have to wait about, well, 10 more hours for it to trade sideways to get above the cloud or outside of the cloud here, or the lagging span, that is, or we have to trade up above 322, which could happen. It could happen. Price, if we're going to do like a 5 wave, I mean, we could see price pull back down to the conversion line and not violate that second or the A A wave. Oh man, I'm having problems with the words today. That is a possibility, but Ethereum not showing a buy signal. Ethereum Classic, very similar chart, very similar cloud, not showing a signal. We would have to get up there more. Of course, Bitcoin, we know that has the buy signal going on it. Looking at Litecoin, Litecoin almost has a buy signal. It is very close to getting one. We could certainly see a nice drive up and out of here. And so if we were looking at a Litecoin signal, we would be looking at the 59 or just the 60 even. Not hearing any audio. Weird. Could anybody watching this tell me if you can hear me or not? I mean, I'm hearing it on the stream. I just turned my... Okay. Litecoin. So that entry would be about that $60 even value areas where I'd be looking to get in along there. Walton coin has had some crazy nice response here. I mean, this is a drive up. I mean, we were trading down below at $1.87, and then we moved all the way up. We moved up 28%. That's a good move. That's insane. In one day. Nano. I've been talking about Nano for a while. I've been talking about Nano because this is the most ugly chart of all the charts that I've seen, and there is no reason fundamentally why this should be down in the doldrums, but it is, and I have been adding to positions every big, greater than 10-12% dip, and we've moved up 50%. From the low we were at around 11 o'clock last night to now in a 12-hour. That's that right? That can't be right. No. Sorry. Yeah. 48-hour period. 50% drive. If you had $5,000 in it, you now have $75,000 in it. $75,000. Oh my gosh. 7,500. I like it. Basic attention token. No Ichimoku long signal yet. Nano actually does have a long signal trade at the 1844 value area, right where it's at. And this is actually a nice one because we see the lagging span break up above the cloud, traded down to test the cloud as a source of support. So far it's been holding it. On the hourly, we still have 40 minutes left before the hourly closes, but we do see that we have the the possibility of driving higher here. So, oops, Stellar is a lot like Litecoin in that it's right near a breakout zone. It's facing some resistance. The lagging span is... Now, I'm going to turn off the Ichimoku system for a second and say, okay, people maybe ask, okay, why is price stopping around here? What is preventing price from moving higher? Why are these wicks here? Because this doesn't look like, you know, these three candlesticks, these wicks, it doesn't really say why we should be facing any resistance there. You know, it just, I mean, maybe from back here, but otherwise it's hard to tell. It makes sense with the Ichimoku system, though, because the lagging span will respond to areas of support and resistance just like price will. So if the lagging span is inside the cloud, one of the reasons why the lagging span is kind of the final condition for any trade signal is because it has to go through the same crap that price went through previously, and we need to see it bust out of this zone. So it's facing resistance up against the cloud, and so we have to wait for it to break out, and then that would be our final condition met. So the lagging span breaking above the cloud would be around the 23, 24 value area. That would be the Ichimoku long signal on that trade. Check out some others. OMG is looking like we may find another long happen here. Now, we have two areas now that we formed a base. We traded up. We formed another base. We could be doing a stair step up here where we're going to see some big drives up for a few hours, followed by some profit taking and consolidation, followed by another big drive up. So, you know, when you see these kind of patterns forming, they generally will continue to operate that way throughout the rest of the move until there is a corrective move. So we could see prices consolidate, range trade a little bit, but you know, if I'm looking at the OMG chart, I see that we do have the cloud is green, price is above the cloud, the lagging span is not yet, so we might have to wait for it or get a really big candlestick to trade above. Zcash, similar situation. You know, we've traded back above the cloud, but you know, the lagging span is still behind it. The nice thing is the cloud right here on a lot of these charts is very thin. Now, thin clouds, thank you, Lewis. Thin clouds represent not a lot of honesty, I should say. I don't know if that's the word I want to use or not. But when you have a thin cloud, the top and the bottom and the top of the cloud, they don't act very strongly as an area of support or resistance. But a thicker cloud does. So the thicker a cloud is, the stronger it is indicative of a powerful move, and more often than not, the cloud will act as a source of support and resistance. So, you know, if we break out above or below a thick cloud, that is that's a pretty important thing to pay attention to, especially because, you know, we always wait for the lagging span to also break out. So it's a very, very strong indication of a move, and something to pay attention to. So let's see, EOS. I mean, we're really looking at the same chart back and forth here. We're really not seeing any. We're seeing very few charts that are deviating from the norm. We're seeing you know, we're seeing two areas of consolidation followed by two breakout moves, and you know, this is really a bullish a flag pattern. But yeah, we're probably not going to see a whole lot of difference in a lot of any of these charts, especially on the dollar pairs. Ripple is kind of an interesting one where this is a good example of why we wait. So Ripple, I hate Ripple. I think it's the devil. But it's got a chart that shows really the same pattern we're seeing as this cup and handle formation. Cup and handles are not very profitable. They don't turn into positive trades as often as any other pattern. I mean, the only one that's really the only one I really ever pay attention to is that head and shoulders pattern, and that's the one that has the highest rate of return, and is the one that generates the highest positive expectancy of moving in the direction it should. We have the cup and handle formation here. It's near its breakout conditions too. We see that we are trading above the cloud. The cloud is green, all that jazz. But where did the lagging span go up to, and where did price action stop? When price got up to here, lagging span touched the top of the itty bitty cloud here. Okay, this is where what I just said about the cloud did not work out. Where this is a very thin cloud, but the lagging span still treated it as a source of resistance. So, what happens here? Well, when you had a break out of the cloud, price will more than likely come down to test either the conversion line, and failing that, it'll move down to test the baseline. Failing that, it'll test this cloud. Failing that, it'll test the bottom of the cloud. And then failing that, we get into short conditions. So we've got time to look at what's going on. Again, nice thing about the Ichimoku system is it tells us when not to trade. And so this is telling us not to take a trade yet. Okay. Let's see a dash. Holy cow. Look at that. That was a big, that's a huge wick. Wow. So dash is approaching a buying condition here. God, the hourly is not very good for that because it doesn't have a lot of volume. What about the 4 hour? 4 hour. What is a nice thing to see here, though, on the 4 hour is that we're at an area where we should see some resistance, where we should see a pullback or a throwback down here. There's a difference between pullbacks and throwbacks, but everybody says throwback or pullbacks, so I sometimes forget to call them the correct things, but I don't know if a lot of people know what throwbacks are even. But we have price action trading here, and the lagging span could treat this area as a source of resistance, and it could sell lower. Also, price action is currently right at the baseline. It's slightly above it, which is good, but otherwise, on the 4 hour, not seeing a buy signal yet. But certainly, if I see the lagging span trade above price and price is trading above the conversion line and baseline, then I'm going to break the long rules because we're talking about a trend change situation, and that's where the risk and the reward comes into play. So again, when I was talking about this in the beginning, you have to use a combination of following rules in a system, but also using some common sense. So, if you only are going to trade the Ichimoku system and you are only waiting for all three conditions to be met on 3 time frames, you'll be waiting a while to take trades. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with waiting. But I like to get into things a little early because if we look at a daily chart and, let's say we were trading in here, how many days would we not have taken a trade from April 20th through waiting for the lagging span to break down below the cloud? Actually, we'd want to trade it when it dropped below this horizontal value area. So a whole month, pretty much, a little over a month, we would have been waiting to take a trade on a daily chart. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a swing trader, that is probably awesome for you, because daily charts, when prices break out of a cloud on a daily chart, you don't often see a lot of price churning to go back into it and have full reversals like you do on slower time frames. Daily charts and weekly charts on the Ichimoku system are going to be like the I think the most honest type of chart. So, you know, just keep that in mind. But the thing is let's say we're looking at this opportunity here where we're shorting, but if we were to go to the 4-hour chart, so what are we talking about here? Let's look at the 5th of May in 2018. Oh, you know what? Let's just do this. We'll go to where you at? Here. So here's Dash on the daily. Let's get Dash on the 4-hour chart and then Dash on the hourly. Okay, so looking at Dash, 3 different time frames. If I go back to May 10th, May 9th, May 10th, and where are we at? So May, actually, where did we get we're trading here, like 13th and 14th of May. 13th and 14th of May, so we are below the cloud. And then, you know, when I get to the 14th here and the 15th, I start to get a little bit of a chop trading here, but then ultimately, finally, we get a breakdown below the cloud on the 17th. And the lagging span's below the cloud, so there's our short signal. And what day did it finally break down over here? Not the same. We actually had to wait 3 more days to get a short. So, and then you can even go shorter on the hourly. So when we're looking at the time frames, and when we know we've been in such a prolonged trend and we're forming a base, it's not as risky to break the rules, or not to break the rules, but to trade different rules for anticipated trend changes. So, and because we're doing entries based on the hourly, if we're, you know, because again, trends change on shorter time frames before they start to do it on longer time frames. You're always going to see a change in trend on the hourly before you do on the 4-hour, and then you're always going to see that happen before you see it on the daily. And there's a lot of price action that goes on there. There's a lot of trading that you miss out on. And this is up to each individual person. But one of the problems that I always had when I was starting trading was I always seemed to miss the breakout of something, and I ended up always chasing, and I was like, well, why did I never get into these? It's because I was a chicken. Really, I wanted everybody else to do a lot of the work to tell me when it's safe to go in. But most of a good chunk of your initial profit target, your initial profit is going to be made on the breakout of a new trend. So, you know, if we know that we've been at this, again, we know we've been in this spacing area, we know we've been forming these bottoms, there's nothing wrong for me to play it risky and take trades on the 1-hour and the 4-hour charts, okay? And so I'm looking at the 1-hour chart, and I don't even really need to see the daily right now. I don't even need to look at it. I'm looking at the 4-hour chart, and I see, well, this is actually kind of bullish, because on the 4-hour chart, ever since we broke down back on the 31st of July, ever since we started trading below, we have not been able to get back into the cloud, and now we are. Okay, I see the conversion line is crossed above the baseline. Price is holding above both those lines were sitting inside the cloud. In fact, on the 4-hour where we opened right on the bottom of the cloud on the 4-hour chart, and we're trading above and inside of it. And so this is fine for me, because you know, we have this bias for a market turning positive here. And should I expect some short-term pressure? Sure. 2 reasons why. 1, the lagging span is up against the baseline here. It would be totally appropriate for price to get rejected at this level and trade back down to test the bottom of this cloud again. And looking at the current price action here, I mean, what's the value? So here's the bottom of the cloud at 64.44. If I look at where the baseline is on the 1-hour, where's that at? 64.53, 64.56. It says it's the same damn zone. And so that is actually a great area where I would say, if I, maybe I want to peel profit off of here and then add on a retest lower. Or just look at the chart and see that we have a pennant forming and have a resting buy order up above. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you could see these. I mean, there's just all sorts of things to look at. But on a breakout from the hourly like this, from being in a downtrend, I like seeing that price action has respected that baseline as a source of support. So I'm going to keep trading like that. I'm going to keep trading the dips that go down to test the baseline, and I'm not going to freak out until there's another short signal on the 4 hour or another short signal on the 1 hour. Because right now there's bullish conditions. Let's look at like Cardano, which actually has quite a bit of a bullish stuff going on for it. Why is this on the 30-minute? Oh, I know why, because I did it in Forex. That's all right. Okay, looking at the 30-minute in Cardano. We've got the daily, the 4 hour, and daily's in the top left, 4 hours in the top right, and then we have the bottom is the 1 hour chart. So looking at Cardano on the daily, looks pretty blech, looks pretty ugly. But we are way extended from that baseline on the daily. And when you get really extended from the baseline, things like the snapback. Talked about this yesterday, where there are some, and I think I mentioned it in that's the problem when you do more than 2 or 1 session a day. You can't remember if you said something in a previous session or if you're just repeating it to the same group. But we see that price is quite a bit a ways away from the baseline. It's not as bad as, say, back here, but still it's a bit of a distance where we should expect some type of pullback there. On the 4 hour, this is looking interesting because price is currently resting. It's trading right at that baseline, and there's the stochastic RSI is showing us in an accelerated or an elevated overbought condition. So there is the bias of being short here on the 4 hour. Okay, or just flatten out. We'll see what happens as the 4 hour closes. But on the 1 hour, we're kind of in the same zone here, where the top of the cloud. Here's the other thing about Ichimoku. When you see a very, very straight cloud, when you see a line that has got a pretty straight line, that is also a very powerful area of support and resistance. Any flat line like that, it's going to act as an area where you're going to have some difficulty driving out of it. Okay, so right now we can really kind of plot out how price action would move here on the 1 hour, because by looking at the lagging span. So there's not a lot of stuff in the Ichimoku system above us to stop price where it's presently at. So price could very well trade. It could break out of the cloud and trade up all the way to, about this zone, to 1087. And why would it stop there? Because the lagging span would get up to the cloud here, and it may very well act as a zone of resistance. And then we'd have to wait for price to do a little pullback, so to speak, somewhere around here. And then finally, we would have conditions met on the 1 hour for Cardano to be trading above the cloud, and that's what we would see. So again, we're at, it's 140 right now, and so this is a time in currency markets and in equity markets where people are winding down their positions. People are probably already done trading for the day. A lot of professionals are. London session's over, lunch session's over. When I say that people are kind of closing out the positions, the NASDAQ is NASDAQ. Wish I was trading those futures today, damn it. Beautiful breakout lower. Beautiful short trade on the NQ. And then on the 4-hour even, that NASDAQ is looking pretty bearish. Oh man. Oh man, that is going to be a deep drop. Oh, holy cow. If the 1 hour is a good indicator here, ooh. I mean, I didn't mean to talk about the NASDAQ futures, but that is ugly. August isn't really ever a good month seasonally. Okay, but looking at that, you know, we've got really great conditions met for Bitcoin at least. And Bitcoin facing a little bit of profit taking, pretty normal. Come down to the conversion line at 6,400 or so. Find some support there, or maybe on a return down to the base, we'll see. But otherwise, the drops, if we want to have a bullish sentiment going forward, we should be looking forward to the pullbacks lower, which will give us the opportunities to start buying those pullbacks in a bull trend that should be forming. So what is nice to see on the dailies here, like on Bitcoin, is that we've had a very, very strong candle, and we've only faced selling pressure as we've gotten closer to the bottom of the cloud and to the conversion line. Also note that the baseline is still above the cloud, so there's plenty of room for this to continue to rise. That's in Bitcoin. Litecoins daily, not a lot to write home about there. Ethereum has had a pretty impressive clawback here. This is a beautiful, beautiful bullish. Actually, I'll look at it from this perspective. So here's Ethereum. This is a beautiful bullish pivot setup. Look where Ethereum, we talked about this last week and Monday, where, you know, seeing Ethereum drop all the way down here was something we anticipated, and it came down to the 882, 886 a Fibonacci level, which is a very, 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 very powerful reversal Fibonacci level. And price came to this Gann angle, and the lagging span came down to that fib level along with price. Very strong response is what we're seeing, and we should see that continue to hold. The current price action here, we should be trading back up to 372 at some point, you know, in the next week. In the next 7 to 8 trading days, we should be retesting that 379. I can see just from the market geometry, we can see price coming up to around here. I don't see us breaking lower. Coming out to here, and then this kind of creates a really interesting breakout zone for Ethereum. So I want you to look at this and pretend that there are these channels in here. So maybe if I just draw them with some trend lines and not what am I looking at? All right, so we'll go like this. Forgive me while I do a little doodle, and I'll highlight it. Like, oh, that is way too bright. How about blue? Blue works. So these are the angles that we've been trading up and against. This is the main channel that we've been trading in. It's an L pattern. And we maybe not that steep of a rise. We don't want to see parabolic moves anymore. We just want to see this. So Bitcoin or Ethereum could just kind of drift along this corridor, or or alleyway or whatever you want to call it. That could be the direction we go, or it could be trading in this one. So lots of different things to take a look at. Ethereum has a very nice, beautiful base formed. Like I was saying yesterday, and I think on Monday, there was Monday or yesterday, I was saying that these coins have not traded in these lows. I mean, a lot of these coins are trading below their year-to-date lows. They're trading from their year-over-year lows, or they're trading in new calendar year lows. A lot of them are doing that in Ethereum because it was trading below it's a year ago. So if we look at, the 13th, we were looking at on the 13th, it was trading at that 275 value area, and then yesterday it was trading above, like at that 290 value area, but that was in 2017, and then we were well below that yesterday, and now we've rallied back above it. That's a good sign of support. That's a good sign of a bottom, and yeah, it's just we're in mid-August, and so it makes sense to have this kind of final bear trap move lower to get in a lot of the... I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the news stuff. I mean, I get all these alerts. I want to read some of these too. These are great. This is like how you know you're at a bottom. So here, let's get to some of these. So, ex-PayPal CEO labels cryptocurrency a cult and that it's headed straight to zero. I love the people who write these news stories because they have the easiest jobs in the world, and I don't know how they get them, because I would love to have a job where all I have to do is match the market sentiment after the fact. Let's see. Why are cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum falling so much? Let's see. Well, I had a bunch of them. Cryptocurrencies could fall another 50%, says Floor Trader. There's so many great stories that yeah, between Sunday, let's see, okay, here, BitMEX CEO says shitcoin Ethereum price will fall below $100. Crypto market crash prompts suicide concerns. Let's see, where's the other ones? Don't see. As Brexit nears, no, let's see. Altpocalypse continues. Our digital currencies finished. Coinbase acquires distributed. Blah blah blah. I mean, there was just no end of the cryptocurrency news pundits trying to sound more darker than the last guy. So this is really one of those things when you start to hear that kind of stuff. That is the perfect time to go, oh, okay, I'm gonna get in this, because I don't know what it is. It's not even news. I don't know why that's even news. I mean, it's just nuts. Anybody could do that. Oh, by the way, prices traded down today. Did they? That's weird. I feel like if I was reading about cryptocurrency news, I would know that already. It's different if it's a stock. If people have normal jobs, and they're and they want to know something about the stock market, or they want to pay attention to it, they might get the Wall Street Journal or read their email after work, but they're not concerned about the day-to-day price action, really, okay? People who are older than 50, just, they have a different mindset. But people who are involved in cryptocurrencies, they're involved in crypto, like they're checking the shit daily. Not many people in cryptocurrencies are just to set it and forget it. I mean, as many people think that they're hodlers, there's not a lot of hodlers. This market's only 10 years old. That's a very short time frame, believe it or not. That's a very, very short time frame in investing. It's a medium amount of time, but it's not very long. So a lot of these news places that don't offer very good news, and they don't offer anything of substance usually. Shockingly, CNBC, Fox Business, and the Wall Street Journal, Business Insider, they seem to have much better news regarding cryptocurrencies and large institutions than a lot of these other crypto news sites. I'm not bashing the news sites. It's just, I don't know. There's more things to write about in cryptocurrencies other than telling everybody what the price action was during the day. You don't need people to tell you that. And the worst thing that they do is they try to tell you why it was there. They don't fucking know. I'm going to tell you this right away. Do not listen to people who write news stories about price action, because they have no idea what they're talking about. And they're basically guessing. Because price action moves because it did. There is not a catalyst beyond a time cycle that causes a trend change or a move. Are there some news things that cause random and often violent aberrations or fluctuations in the market? Sure. Yes. But they are never the cause of a brand new trend. So it's a pet peeve of mine that there's a lot of these places try to give it authority to a move in a market based off of one piece of fundamental news. And that is right, Lewis, yes. Yeah, that's what they should be doing. They should be talking about the technology. Like blockchain is, I'm not an expert on it, but its importance is not lost to me. I mean, this is essentially what we're living in right now. Those of us listening to me babble and those of us who are in cryptocurrencies, we are basically participating in the .com bubble, and cryptocurrencies are the .coms and blockchain is the internet. That is essentially what we are in right now. This is a major leap in technology and innovation. This is a major change in currencies. And I mean, this is this is a big deal that we're in, and unfortunately, it's a freaking shame that we have so much of an ability to reach out to normal people. Why normal people who aren't involved in cryptocurrencies, or there should be really no excuse why even people in my small town know how important blockchain is. I live in South Dakota. I live in a very rural state. And actually, we're not even considered rural. We're considered frontier, less than 10 people per square mile on average. But people here know about blockchain. But shockingly, there's a ton of people who don't. And that is the technology that should be focused on. And it's weird that it isn't. But, whatever. I'm just ranting there. But regarding the price action, regarding the trading, there is a lot of bullish setups in front of us here. And I'm looking forward to taking a lot of these trades. I'm looking forward to more of the cryptos being like Bitcoin's chart on the hourly, where we see it above the cloud here. Oh, this is the chart we drew this on from Monday or Tuesday. What day did we draw this? I don't remember. This is not valid, by the way. It was invalidated by this shoulder we were wanting to cross. Created a lower low than the head was. But here, Bitcoin's doing kind of what we were talking about before I started getting preachy. Seeing it pull back down to the conversion of the baseline here. Pretty normal response. But anyways, 154. My time is pretty much up here. Again, I'm going to be here tomorrow at 1 o'clock again on Thursday. And for Forex Lens customers who are watching this recording or watching it live, I will see you in the morning at 7:30 Central Standard Time as always. The rest of you, I will meet you here again at 1 o'clock tomorrow. Hope the rest of you have had a good trading day so far. Hope the rest of your trading week goes well. And have a great day. Bye-bye.